intelligence, behavioral change, and leadership science. Sharon has worked with executives at more than 60 Fortune 500 companies and is a sought after speaker at prestigious venues like the World Business Forum and the United Nations. As a Thinkers 50 Top 50 coach worldwide and Marshall Goldsmith Top 100 coach, she specializes in helping leaders manage burnout, navigate power dynamics, and lead with authentic presence. Her psychologically grounded methods empower leaders to maximize impact and drive organizational success with integrity and confidence. That was a great bio by Sharon Malik, and please join with the pre-recording session.
I'm so excited to be here talking with you today about maintaining your mental health and your well-being. And I'm going to talk about it from kind of a different angle that you may not have been used to, really. We're going to talk about how to be in your power, because power is a lifestyle. And hi, I'm Dr. Sharon Melnick. And I'm a business psychologist and an executive coach. And I'm going to bring with me today my experiences from doing 10 years of research at Harvard Medical School, 25 years as an executive coach, and also just working a lot with women leaders, understanding our experiences and how we really have to start creating more of the experiences that we want to have in our workplaces and in our lives. So let's just get started. Like, if we're thinking about stress and like overwhelm and burnout, here's the way that we tend to think about it, right? We tend to think like burnout, like in the extreme form, it tends to come from having too much to do. Like, oh, I just have so much going on, and it's just a lot. And, and then it just over time, it just kind of wears you down, right? But that's actually not how it works. You see, burnout doesn't come from having too much to do. Burnout comes from having too little power. What? Power? What do you mean by that? Like, would that you mean like people who rule governments? Like, no, that's being in a position of power. What I'm talking about is being in your power. Now, what does it mean to be in your power? Actually, the term comes from a Latin root, posse, which means to be able. So the idea of burnout coming from too little power is it means that you're in situations where you don't feel like you have a lot of agency. You don't feel like you have a lot of control or options or something that you can do about the situation. It means that you don't have a sense of sovereignty. Now, sovereignty means like that you determine like your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual state, right? And if you react, you know how to get back to your center, and you're not ruled by what other people think about you. It's like you decide who you are, and you have that kind of radiance about you. Also, to be in your power, it means that you have a sense of efficacy. It means that, like, when you act, it has an impact. People listen, people change, things get better. That's what it means to be in your power. And so if you find yourself in situations, whether in your workplace or in your home life or your community, where you feel like you just don't have this sense of agency or sovereignty or efficacy, that's going to put you on the path to not having good mental health and even to burnout. And this is not just my opinion, even though it is my opinion and it is supported by the brain science. But actually, McKinsey did a study of around the world, so many, many thousands of people, and they found the number one predictor of well-being in the workplace, what they call a sense of self Efficacy, just another way of saying being in your power, right? That means like you feel like you have a sense of control and impact, like you can make your situations better and be heard and get what it is that you need. So this is why the idea of knowing how to be in your power in situations is so relevant for you to maintain your mental health and well-being. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through four power shifts, right? So if you find yourself out of your power, how you can get back in your power and maintain that well-being. Shift number one is, what you might notice is that when you go through your day out of your power, it can feel like your experience can feel like you are a thermometer. Now, what do I mean by that? Have you ever noticed that your mental and your emotional state, it kind of goes like up and down throughout the day, like a thermometer? When you're thermometer, when you're out of your power, it's like other people act and you find you're just reacting. So other people act, you just react. When you're the thermometer, that climate, it's created outside of you by other people, and you're just reacting to it all day long. And then it feels like you're almost like the casualty rather than the creator of the outcomes for your life. It really makes you feel out of your power, not have a sense of control, can lead right to a sense of anxiety or depression, or even feeling like you're having trauma responses depending on the situation. So what you want to do is you want to shift from being the thermometer to being the thermostat, right? You want to be the thermostat. When you're the thermostat, you set the temperature, you set the tone, right? So when you're the thermostat, you're like, this is how I believe about me, and I'm going to show up that way. Like, I'm not taking on whatever you think about me. When you're the thermostat, it's like you have a vision of how to make this situation better, how the situation, the relationships can be strengthened, how we can get a better, more efficient outcome, how just the whole situation could be like more effective, right? And so as the thermostat, you know how to bring everyone along in your vision. That's a lot of power. You have more power than you think, and you want to be able to exercise it. That's the idea. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer. So maybe just think for a moment, like, where are you being the thermometer in your life? Where do you want to be the thermostat, right? And make the commitment, be the thermostat. Pop it into the chat if you're like, yes, I would way rather be the thermostat. I want to know my power in the situation better to make it better for me and for everyone else. That's the first shift, from thermometer to thermostat. And I'm going to be talking with you about strategies that are in my book, In Your Power, which is like all workshop on being in your power. And it's all about how to be the thermostat and not the thermometer. So I definitely suggest that you go out and get a copy for yourself and gift it to someone else who is probably being the thermometer in their lives, where they're, reacting to situations, feeling defeated by someone else. This is what we want to shift. Now, the rest of the 3 shifts I'm going to go over are things that are not in this book. They are just things that I think are so important for women, so that we can create the weather inside of us and on our teams, right? That's being the thermostat. So these are some things that are kind of more fun. They're more something that is immediately available to us and can help to create our weather inside ourselves and in our world. So come along with me. Okay, the next power shift is, have any of us ever sort of just like feel like we kind of drag through our day? It's like meeting after meeting, and it feels kind of boring or mundane, or like it's just kind of the same thing, or people aren't making decisions. And by the end of the day, maybe you feel like one of my clients, that she was a chief technology officer at a media company. And she once said to me when we were getting started, she said, why do I feel so bad at the end of the day when the work of me and my team is so good, right? So if you're doing really good work, but maybe you're not feeling recognized or valued, and it's making you wonder whether you should leave or stay, or, kind of why clients aren't, kind of coming to you, even though you're so good at what it is that you do. So we're going to leave behind all of that dragging your way through the day, right? And instead, you're going to take on the practice of brag. Okay, now what does it mean to brag? Now, brag has a negative meaning to it, because women are told, don't brag, don't be too big for your britches, don't be too much, don't be full of yourself. So you're going to notice that each of these 3 shifts that we're going to go through right now, they're going to take back something that has been said that's negative toward women. So a brag is really just telling the truth about yourself. A brag is nothing more than telling the truth about yourself. So I want you to get into a daily practice, the beginning of the day or end of the day, and I want you to brag, tell the truth about yourself. And when I do women's leadership programs, we always start every meeting with a round of brag, so that you can report out to other people what you are proud of, what you've enjoyed about yourself, what you've accomplished. And also you can hear from your sisters, because they will totally inspire you with what women leaders are able to do. What's really important about a brag is that it orients your attention to the things that you're doing well, that you're doing right, and not only the things that are dragging you down and that are going wrong and that cause all of kind of that frustrating energy inside of you, creating that weather inside of you, right? So this is your homework every day for the rest of your life. 3 brags. And I would be doing this with your girlfriends. I would get a text chain going, 3 brags every day, and then upride your sisters for the things that they say. It's so fun. And it really uploads this physiology of like enjoying yourself into your day. So shift number 2, brag. Okay, shift number 3 is that when situations happen, usually the first thing that we do is that we make it negative, or we look at the negative implications on us. And what I want you to do instead is to appreciate that you control the narrative in any situation that goes on. Like I had a client who was passed over for a promotion, like a kind of a half-step promotion. She got on the call together, and she was like really upset about it. She was like, I've been here longer than these other people, and this other person got promoted and I don't feel supported by my manager, and I don't feel valued, and I think that this is gender bias, and I think this is racial bias. And she was like really upset about it, and understandably so, because she's so good at what she does. So I held the space for her. She was upset. We talked it through, and then at a certain point I asked the question, just for us to be curious together, like, how might this have happened for you, not to you? That's a magic question. It puts you right back in your power. And immediately, without even skipping a beat, immediately she said, you know something? I didn't even want that role. She said, I think that I need to be going more for the chief human resources officer's role, or the chief diversity officer's role, or something in organizational change. And that was just like a half step up for something that was like more operational. She's like, I'm doing dashboards, across the company, talking with C-suite leaders. Like that's really more where I belong for my next her next step up. And that actually put her on a whole new pathway to be going for those kind of roles, to really elevate her role. She's, now in a role that is, kind of at that very elevated level. But if she had just stayed with that initial reaction of this is negative and they're doing this to me and they don't see me, she would have missed out on this whole other possibility for herself. So remember, you control the narrative. You don't have to just kind of stay stuck and be that thermometer and go right to feeling disempowered and how other people are doing this to you. How might this be happening for me, not to me? Control the narrative. And then finally, this is a really, really fun, I'm going to kind of, close out with this really, really fun. You've probably never heard it this way before, power shift. So how many of us feel like we're going through our days and it's just like we have to be armored up and, people don't give us what we need and it's overwhelming and we're just very like, we're kind of like we're trying to force our way, we have to like protect ourselves and we have to, and maybe there's someone who's kind of loud or talks over you or who dismisses you and you're like trying to get your voice in there and you're like mad at them for the way that they treat you. It's like a lot of like that kind of angry energy where we have to like feel like we have to force our way into just like what we deserve and have earned, right? So I'm wondering if instead of this kind of force energy, if you could try on a totally different kind of energy. And instead of forcing, how about flirting? Now, hold on a second before you go there. I know that this very patriarchal definition of flirting is like, oh, you go to a bar and you bat your eyes and you like try to get a guy to, give you a free drink. Yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about at all. Let's have a new definition of flirting. Is enjoying yourself in the presence of another. Enjoying yourself in the presence of another. Notice how all the themes today have been about you determine kind of your own state. You enjoy you, right? So flirting, like we could even say it, like stretching it a little bit right now, like that I'm flirting with you because I'm having so much fun telling you about these power shifts. But you could just see that I'm just saying like I'm enjoying myself. So I'm not making it about what anybody else has to give me or what anyone else is doing for me or not doing for me. Like I am just bringing that energy. And you have so much control when you bring this as the way. And I'll give you like an example. I was coaching someone who works in one of the big banks, and she had a colleague who was like starting to throw her under the bus and kind of turf wars. She brought this to me the other day and it was like, not good, the way he was acting. And so she was like, how do I, let people know that he's, making up stories about me and rumors and giving me a bad name. And again, all that kind of like force energy, which you could understand. I mean, that's really not cool at all. And she didn't deserve that. So instead, we went in there with a very different energy. It was more neutral. It had more of this like enjoying herself. So she met with him and their boss, and her approach was more like, yeah, so let's talk about this common vision that we have. And I really want to hear more about like your perspective, what you see is going on. And I definitely have things that I want to share about what's going on. And like, let's see what we can come up together that's like way better. And just this kind of energy totally like shifted him. And it got her manager to really see that he was the one who was causing the problems, not her, that she was totally trustworthy. And therefore, every one of the pieces of evidence that she brought, like the boss was like, yeah, that seems like it's right, because she totally came in with this very different energy. She felt right, in control of herself and who she wanted to be. So these are just some kind of fun ways, things that you can do even in the heat of the moment for you to be in your power, because power is a lifestyle. You can access this state of you being in your power no matter what is going on around you. You can be the shift from thermometer to thermostat. You can not go through your days a drag, but instead brag. You can not go right to the negative, but you can control the narrative and you can flirt your way through the day with our new definition. Because when you're in your power, you raise everyone around you. Definitely encourage you to pick up a copy of In Your Power for yourself. It's like loaded with all kinds of strategies for those situations where you react or feel out of control. And it's really, really good to give someone else who is feeling like things are challenging for them. And what they want is to be in their power themselves. When a woman is in her power, she raises everyone around her.